All right, everybody, welcome in. It's Wednesday. It's not Monday. It's Wednesday. And we moved the show over to our weekly show with the three amigos here, the Monday Night Wind-Up. Moved it over to Wednesday just for scheduling conflicts. But it's nice to be back here with everybody again tonight. We're going to have a great show. We're going to go through a couple different topics tonight. It's been some updates in the Brian Walsh case. Karen Reed had a hearing today, according to getting access to her phones in the witness intimidation charges against Aiden Carney, Turtle Boy. And then we're going to talk about last night. It was down in In Groton, Connecticut. And I confronted the mayor of Groton, Connecticut, Mayor Rachel Franco, and Councilwoman Jill Rusk about the supposedly spitting incident on August 5th. So we're going to get to see that, talk about that. We'll get the three amigos up here on the stage. It is very, very nice to see everybody here tonight. Nice to see everybody here. Thank you so much, Remy. I appreciate that. Dina Jam in the house with us today. Thank you. I haven't even really watched it yet. I'm excited to watch it. I skimmed through it, and we'll get to talk a little about that tonight. But let's not wait too much longer. Let's bring in the Fab 2, one attorney, one ex-police officer, and we'll get the show on the road. Attorney Nan Gallagher, Todd McGhee joining us, of course. How is everybody doing? It feels weird to be here on a Wednesday.
I know. I was just telling Todd in the green room, it feels like a Monday. And I can't go through a Monday without my two guys. So it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great to be back. Good to see you both.
Yeah, so it is very nice to see everybody. Britt's hanging out with us. She said, happy Wednesday, Brian, Nan, and Todd. It's nice to see you here. D-Mart is here. I had a little caffeine before I got on air, so I'm a little jittery now. But we have a lot to get into. Obviously, I was talking about there's been some updates in the Brian Walsh case. We were going to actually do the full timeline tonight, and then all of a sudden, they're going to send him off to the puzzle factory to basically see if he's competent enough to face trial. So we'll get into that, probably the back end of the show. I know everybody's going to want to hear about what happened with Karen today, but let's first kick this off. So last night, I went down to the Groton, Connecticut town meeting. I've been kind of chasing down this story. Obviously started with Sean from Long Island Audit back in July, what happened with him, the ex-trooper Brian Fahey. But in all of this and Sean going out and peaceful protesting during the Groton town meetings, there was an incident that came up, and we call it the Spitgate or Spit incident. And, I started to look into this because I had got all their footage, and I looked through, it was like my friend Leroy, Truth Investigations was there, Sean from Long Island Audit, Garden State Accountability, Vincent. They all went down to peacefully protest as to what happened to Sean. So there was an accusation that was made during that peaceful protest when they went on August 5th. And it was just strange to me that the mayor would bring this up 48 minutes into the meeting about that, when they came in and took their seats, that Councilwoman Rusk had spit on her chair. And I went, that doesn't make any sense to me. If I was a town council person or a mayor and I sat down before a meeting started and there was literally spit on a chair, I probably would stop the meeting and have some type of investigation or try to get some answers as who had access to this area, behind our council desk. And literally everything is corded off there. They have barriers up, those stanchions. So you can't even access that area anyway. And I called this BS right away. So I started to look into it, and I don't think that they were thought I would go as far as I did. And I ended up FOIA requesting the chamber security cameras, and I got footage of 2 hours before and 2 hours after. And I wanted to see who accessed that room before Sean and his supporters showed up. And when we went through the evidence, there was no one that accessed that area. The only people that accessed that area pre the town meeting was a Groton police officer and town manager John Burt. And they didn't do it. But what we did see was Councilwoman Jill Rusk, maybe about 8 minutes before the meeting started. And again, this is all alleged. She left the meeting, came back, and I literally followed her through that entire camera footage, and it looked and it appeared that she had cupped her hand. And when she sat down, put both of her hands on the chair like this, and then all of a sudden, magically, there's a substance on the chair that wasn't there pre the meeting. And I literally watched, it was like 5 hours of footage we went through. And I knew Sean didn't do it. I knew his supporters didn't do it. This was a fabrication between the mayor and Jill Rust, the councilwoman. That is going to be running for mayor, by the way. Fabrication. And I know this is long-winded. I'm sorry. I just want to give context to this. And, a fabrication. And we literally watched the footage, and that did not happen. But I felt like the bigger narrative in all this is that they knew this was because Sean got spit in his face by Brian Fahey, and they wanted to set a narrative that they were the evil ones. They were the ones that came here. They're the ones that are spitting, and that's further from the truth. So again, I went there last night to confront her. I got daggerized when I got up to the podium. Jill Rusk and Mayor Franco did not like that I was there. We'll play a little bit of that footage. So I don't know if either one of you want to chime in. I know you helped me kind of break all this down, and it's going to be very interesting because I'm also going to tell everybody what John Burt said afterwards. And the great thing about it is we have a security expert on panel today that'll actually be able to debunk his claim. But anyway, I know that was long and winded, and I'm sorry.
No, it's your show. You can be as long-winded as you want. But I did happen, my schedule changed yesterday, Brian, and I was able to catch your wonderful coverage of that meeting. And I gave you some private sentiments, positive ones about it from a friend earlier. And I would also tell you that I thought you did a great job. It takes a lot of courage to get up in front of a crowd, big or small, and to speak passionately about something that you care about. And I thought you did wonderfully. And honestly, it was going to fall on deaf ears no matter what you said or who you were, whether you were you or Sean or Leroy or anyone else. But I thought you did a great job.
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking. Because you get up and you have this full speech, and I practiced it, of course, home a couple of times, and you try to get it under 2 minutes because they've limited the time there. It's supposed to be a 5-minute time, but the mayor is such a tyrant. She doesn't want to hear the feedback that people are giving her, so she's limiting this to 2 minutes. So I practiced, I nailed it down at home. But then when you get there and of course, I'm the first person that gets called, so I don't have any rhythm to how this is working. It's just Brian, I'm so I get up, I start kind of giving my speech, and I'm tripping a little bit, and but I got my point out.
You're too hard on yourself. I thought you did great. And also, everyone whose time ran out, and everyone's time did run out, all they kept saying was, your time has expired. Your time has expired. I was like, are people dropping like flies in there? Everyone's time is expired. But no one wanted to hear it. I thought you did a great job.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Go through the motions in those hearings.
Yeah. It's it's a little nerve-wracking. Like I said, I've never done anything like that, but it's good practice to get up and go up and fight for something that you really care about and that you're looking in. And then my biggest thing was, and I talked to a couple of the people that live there in town, and I have a connection to Connecticut. I lived in East Lyme for 2 years back in 2015, so I know that area. It's right next to Groton. There's New London. I like that area. I like being in and around that area, and I have kind of a connection to it. And I wanted people to know that, look, if Mayor Franco and Jill Rusk are lying something very simple like this and fabricating something, it's very scary that these people would be in office and you're gonna elect them and believe in their credibility when they talk about things. And you can hear at those meetings that people are truly frustrated as to what's going on. This one lady laid into Franco, "You're a liar, you're a snake," and she was great. But that's what's going on, and this happens across small town America everywhere because they get away with it because people don't challenge them, and then when you show up to challenge them, they get very angry. I got the dagger eyes last night. It was pretty thick.
The number one word that kept getting repeated by speakers last night that is so important to that issue and the ones that keep popping up is accountability. And
Yeah.
there is none. And these are elected officials who serve at the behest of the public. They're paid, some do their positional roles volunteer, others are paid by taxpayer dollars, and they must be accountable. They can't just let comments from the public fall on deaf ears. And it's not just germane to Groton or Groton, however that's pronounced.
Groton.
We see it at the Canton
Yeah.
select board
Select board.
meetings. Every town, district, borough, township, they're all accountable. And I was talking with a close friend last night, and these towns are little fiefdoms or fiefdoms, however people pronounce them, potato,
Yeah.
potato, and they have a lot of control. So it takes a strong, bold voice like yours and others to challenge authority. So just keep doing it.
Yeah, small
Yeah.
town politics are they're a beast unto themselves, and you see these players get involved, they get elected, and they go on a power trip. And until someone challenges them, everything's fine, everything's good, nothing to see here. And then all of a sudden, there's a hot topic that hits the community, and now they're scrambling, and they're going to have a public hearing, but we're going to minimize the time that's allowed, and so they exploit all of the different rules and regulations that they can.
Yep.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about it is when you watch their live stream and they go into recess because they feel like, that things can't calm down. The beautiful thing about it was last night when they go into recess on air, our cameras still run. So you can see what's going on in there, and we can ask as many questions as we want. We might not get answers, but we can allow them to know how we're feeling in the questions that we want answered. So that was really great. I mean, it was literally, I urge everybody to go back and watch the footage if you have. It was bedlam last night. Like there was fights within fights in that entire room last night. It's nothing like I've ever seen before, with such a small crowd too. And it was very interesting to go out and observe. And like I said, I was there to support Sean and Leroy. I went more as an observer just to see kind of like what they do in their work. They've been very welcoming of me. And I heard from Leroy today, and he reached out. He said, "Hey, you did a really great job last night. It was great seeing you, last night and coming out to support." So it was good. It was a good time.
This was a natural extension of FOIA requests, and
Yeah.
you're taking those steps. This is dogged journalism. I'm very impressed.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so let's do this. We'll pull up my my speech here. I don't know. I haven't even really watched it yet, and I do know that I need like 30 to lose about 20 pounds. But Boston, Massachusetts, on August 5th, approximately 48 minutes into the Groton Town Hall meeting, Mayor Rachel Franco addressed the room, and from Sean from Long Island on, as several citizens peacefully protested Sean's unlawful July 11th arrest following the encounter with former Connecticut State Trooper Brian Fahey. During your remarks, Mayor Franco claimed that the Councilwoman Jill Russ had discovered spit on her chair before sitting down. Mayor Franco then turned to the town manager, John Burt, and reminded him and the public that this chamber is being video and audio recorded, clearly implying that Sean and the people that showed up that day, his supporters, had spit on their chair. So I asked myself, if this alleged spitting chair incident truly occurred, why wasn't the meeting stopped immediately and launched a full investigation? Why wait 48 minutes into this meeting to make that announcement? So here's how smart I am. For weeks, I emailed you and John Burt to get an answer about the investigation. Neither of you responded to me. So I also saw no formal charges brought up in the media, the newspaper, during your council meetings. So I FOIA requested the town council recordings in this room 2 hours before and 2 hours after, reviewed the footage, and after reviewing the footage in its entirety, the evidence is concluded at no time did Sean or anyone associated with him come into the secure area that you have gates here The only two people that came into the area at that time was town manager John Burt and a Groton police officer, which they did not do anything as well. So let's be clear. The only individuals that access this area.
Thank you. Your time has expired.
So I'm just going to ask
Next
you,
is
are you
Ian
gonna-
Thomas.
I'm going to ask you today, will you formally
Up next
apologize to Groton,
Is Ian
the town of
Thomas?
Groton, and to Sean from Long Island Audit and his supporters here today? Will you issue a statement
sorry, your
about
time
the
has
spitting chair
expired.
incident?
Up next is Mr. Thomas.
That's what I thought. Not bad.
Your time has expired.
My time has expired.
Great job.
Not bad.
Outstanding.
I hadn't
Outstanding.
watched that. I appreciate it, Todd. But if I had the full 5 minutes, like we should have at the meeting, I would have got my full speech in. So I had to kind of compromise there at the end. But no, not bad.
I thought
I
it
think you
was,
hit your
that
points.
was great.
Yeah. And I asked her, you gonna apologize tonight? And man, she was dagger eyes at me. She did not like that I was there. So, and you know what? I'm gonna go back again, and I'm gonna go back again, and I'm gonna go back again. I'm gonna go back again until she answers for it, until she's out of office.
I got to interrupt you. Was that a press pass hanging around your neck
Oh.
last night? So
Well, it's the press pass. It's the press pass that the state gives you, but really, we don't need a press. Like we shouldn't, because we have freedom of press. But the state puts the regulations around us. So, yeah,
Looks good on you.
yeah, that was my my press pass, and Leroy and Sean had theirs, which is their own press pass, which is it's pretty cool. And they have a website you can go up and actually just make your own First Amendment press pass. But it was very interesting to see how they work. Complete professionals. You can tell they've been doing it a very long time. I was more of just an observer, and to go out and just speak my mind to the mayor. And they were very accepting. I had some great conversations with Leroy on his live stream and mine. We were running it simultaneously, and just had some great conversations and talked to the citizens that showed up and heard from them of how they feel what's going on in their in their neighborhood and what's going on with this council. I mean, if you look at Portia Bordelon is the only one that challenges anybody on this panel, and every meeting that she starts, she the rule for the minutes, she always challenges the mayor about it. Why is this cut down to 2 minutes? We're cutting time off citizens and people in the public that want to come here and express their concerns or their praise, whatever it may be. And the mayor just doesn't want to answer for it. She's a tyrant. She is shutting down free speech. And it's really sad because there's a lot of issues that are going on in that town that are not resolved. And Sean's cause is one of the bigger ones. So.
Oh, yeah. Although my highlight of the evening for me was when she was accused of committing a felony, and
Yeah.
I don't know who it was, but someone called the FBI on speakerphone.
It was Leroy.
Was
yeah,
it Leroy?
was Leroy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was amazing.
Said, hold on, I'll call the FBI if you want to talk to them. She didn't like that either. So all right. So later on, what we got was, I guess, an answer from town manager John Burt, but he did this cowardly when he knew that we were outside. So we spoke, we hung out for about maybe another 45 minutes inside the chamber meeting. And then we left and we were talking to just people outside and doing some live streaming. And town manager John Burt said this in response to the spitting incident. And I can't wait till Todd sees this security footage and answers these questions. All right, here we go. I'm going to play this.
As well as the Hilton Garden Inn ribbon cutting. In terms of the spitting complaint, we do not keep cameras in here going at all times. There's no way for us to tell, looking at the footage, what happened, if anything. So it's indeterminable. So the cameras didn't come on until I think 3:30, 4 o'clock-ish. It was a new system. There's no timestamps. It looks like, from what IT thinks, there was probably 3 people in the room when the camera came on. And they were not town people, but we can't tell for sure. So you can't tell what's going on, so it's incorrect to say that nothing happened. There's just no way to tell.
Wow.
Well, that was a total tap dance.
So it's funny because I said I FOIA'd 2 hours before, so he knew I got the footage at 4:30, but now he's backed the timeline up to 4 or 3:30. And I'm going to tell you right now, you know who was in there, Todd? An AV guy that was setting up the audio visual presentation. Sean and his supporters weren't even in town yet. They weren't even near the town hall yet. They live streamed the whole day. So you have their whole timeline, and that's what I want people to understand. I mean, you can go back. Leroy live streamed, and Vincent from Garden State Accountability were live streaming all day. So you have timestamps on all this stuff when they actually entered the building.
Yep.
And so I want to bring the security footage up because apparently they don't have timestamps on their DVRs, Todd. Come on. I mean, you deal in security. You know about these things. Tell us a little bit about DVRs. I mean, for crow's sake, we even had it. We at least had timestamps. I mean, it was inverted, but we had timestamps in Garen's case with the Sally Port video.
DVR, digital, I repeat, digital video recorder. You know, maybe if they toggle the setting, they'll visibly see them. But the time and date stamps embedded within the video footage. We're in a day and age where everything is going to have layers of documentation. So he tried to take the easy way out. He knew he had the platform. No one's going to challenge him in that moment of time, and he pretty much put out there what he wanted to put out, knowing there was no one going to be able to call the BS card on him.
I mean, and I would say this too. Go ahead, Nan. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. If it wasn't time stamped, then how did they know what fragment of video to provide to you in response to the FOIA request? And maybe that's like a really naive question because I don't deal in this type of technology, but don't they need time stamping?
If you go back, we'll say the last such and such, let's say it's a recording for 30 days. That's kind of standard. You go to the calendar, you pick the time, you pick the date. That selection in the menu has got to match the actual footage itself, the film or the recording.
Right.
So that's your redundancy. And government building, if something gets pulled into court, right, it's all got to be corroborated. It's all got to, fit nice, neat, and clean.
I love that you said that because I was going to say, in this day and age, with the things that we face in our society, all the crazy people that want to hurt people, they get a gun or a bomb or whatever it is, you would want the exact timestamp. So when you're laying out your statement or your investigation into a possible nefarious thing that happened, you need that all timestamped. So it doesn't make any sense that he would say, our videos don't have timestamps on them. The IT guy, I'm going to tell you right now, they probably already made a call to the IT guy, and they're probably screaming at that person right now that footage was released, because I got a little inside info that the IT department that works with the Groton Town Hall, and this is by one of the citizens there, is completely independent, and that's probably why I got that footage. So they just were completely, but I'm going to tell you, I probably ain't going to get anything anymore. They probably made a phone call and they're going to try to block me, which is BS, because if I FOIA something, that's Freedom of Information Act request. Yes, and I should be able to have that footage. So let me pull the video up really quick, and we'll just show everybody. I'm not going to play through the whole dang thing, but we'll show everybody what this kind of looks like. So if you go widescreen here, and I know it's hard because I'm going to play. So this is so up in the left-hand corner, you can see the running time. It's 4:30 and 45 seconds and so on. But if you look all the way down to the bottom of the left-hand side of the screen, it says VidCon or VidCon. And that's the company that supplies the DVD player. There's probably the model number. I don't know. Todd probably knows a little bit more about time stamping.
Well, there's going to be a menu on the device itself. Right then and there, you can pull that data.
Yeah. And it's just,
because it's not displayed on the screen, that's a setting.
Yeah. I mean, it's embedded in the digital video here.
Yeah. There's probably 3 or 4 ways to capture the time date stamp.
You know what? Let me just stop this for 2 seconds really quick. Listen, there are going to be trolls that come into this room, okay, and I've said this before, moderators, you have a wrench. You need to take precedent in the room. That's why you have a wrench. Get rid of them, bounce them out. We don't need the conversation here about the trolls. Okay, people are going to come in and try to disrupt a good live stream here, and I'm not going to let it happen. If you are a mod and you can't take care of it, then I got to start giving wrenches to other people. That's why you have a wrench, and you need to exercise that. And I'm not going to have my guest up on my panel harassed when we're having a live stream. That's not why we do this. But anyway, let's move on here.
Thank you to
So
the mods.
yeah, what's that?
I just want to thank your mods.
Yeah,
And
of
you.
course. Yeah, of course. So here, you have about a half an hour, and this is actually when Sean and his supporters actually enter the building, and it was about 4:38-ish. That's still the AV guy. Let's see. You can see them come in.
And for
That's
those,
a long way to go
Yeah.
from the entrance to where the alleged spitting would be.
Yeah. Let me speed it. Because you can see them. Look at, I mean, it's still, oh, the AV guy loser. Okay. This is the time that they actually came in. This is the first guy, John Felix, 5:58 p.m. Oh, and what was the time? Because it says, here's the funny thing about it, because I was there. On the door, they have a yellow sign as you walk in, Todd, right? And it says, you cannot access the building until 30 minutes before the meeting. So it says it right there on the door, 30
Yeah.
minutes before the meeting. And then they had a police officer there last night at 6 o'clock, but this, they didn't have it here. But as you play through the video, like 15 minutes in, the Groton police officer comes in. So
There's no
come
opportunity.
on. It's like, come on, man. You're
I
going to
think
really get up
you're-
there and
I
say
think
that?
you're making a trip. I think you're going to make a trip back just to
Yeah, it's just like
show him Bert or whatever his last name is.
John
that
Burt.
he-
Yeah.
that he's a liar. I mean, he was better off not saying anything like everyone else in the room rather than to try to retort with false information.
Yeah. Let me give I'm going to give a couple of wrenches here really quick. Hang on one second.
That's Nan, to your point, that's a good reflection of someone's character or lack thereof.
I agree. I agree. And in today's day and age, with the amount of people who are demanding receipts, Brian has a lot
Yeah.
of receipts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I just find it interesting that they're going to try to, play this off. It's like, come on, we're not that dumb. I mean, you're really calling us all dumb. Did you not think that I was going to look into this? And it's just like, she could have just been like, hey, we made a mistake. I was out of pocket. I made a mistake. And it probably would have, it wouldn't look good. But, after further investigation, or I don't know, give us something. After further investigation, we came to determination that nothing nefarious happened or whatever. I
Right.
spoke out of turn. We were, I don't know, something, something.
That would be
but-
admitting fault.
yeah, I know. And they're
no,
not gonna
here's
do
the
that.
way here's the way any town lawyer would tell them how to address it. They would say, we looked into this and we are unable to either confirm or refute the allegations. So at this point, we're not going to discuss it any further. That way they save face, but the people who claim it didn't happen, they're put in a position where they say, see, you can't refute us. So it's kind of a wash, but they won't
Right.
say anything.
And that
Yeah.
gives them a nice off ramp as well.
Right.
Yes.
All right, let's switch topics here. And it's funny that Jimbo just said, breaking news, rumors of grand jury convening in Turtle Boy and Karen Reed witness intimidation. Will you be discussing? Guess what? We're going to discuss it right now. Let me pull the article up here on the screen so you all can follow along. So Ted Daniel reporting today. Oh, excuse me. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know this was the hearing was today. I forgot that it was today. But I'll read the headline and then, because I don't have my glass. Actually, you know what, Nan? I might be able to actually read this. So, but if I
I'm here
lose
if
it,
you
I'll
need
have
it.
if you pick it up. So it says Boston 25 News, Ted Daniel, our favorite chimes in, says, judge to rule on search of Karen Reed's phones in witness intimidation probe. So I want everybody to know Karen's phones got seized like almost 2 years ago, or maybe a year and a half ago. And the police have still been in possession of this. I mean, this should have been turned over to her after the trial was concluded, but they've done this long-winded holdout of getting her phones back to her. So it says a judge is set to rule on whether the state investigators can search 2 cell phones seized nearly 2 years ago from Karen Reed as part of an ongoing witness intimidation investigation. Reed's phones were a focus of her hearing at the Norfolk Superior Courthouse in Dedham, involving content creator, Free Karen Reed activist Aidan Carney, known as Turtle Boy. Reed did not attend the hearing, and Carney appeared by video. Special Prosecutor Robert Cosgrove hired the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office to seek access to the device as he seeks to determine if Reed conspired with Carney to intimidate witnesses in her now concluded murder case. The phones were seized by Massachusetts State Police before Reed's first murder trial, but as Cosgrove confirmed to Judge Peter Corrupt during a brief hearing, they have not yet searched because they do not have the passcodes. Attorneys for both Reed and Carney vehemently opposed the prosecutor's request. Reed's lawyer, Steve, I think it's Buzang, criticized the delay in the intrusion, telling reporters outside the courthouse that their request was utterly and completely ridiculous. She doesn't want them to download the phone. Why should they? Buzang said, noting that the phones contain Reed's sensitive personal information, including her bank, financial, and health records, and that the prosecution has held them for 2 years. Aidan Carney's attorney, lawyer Tim Bradle, echoed the settlement, stating, Mr. Carney fully supports. Every time I read these statements from lawyers, I would just hear their voice in my head, like Bradle's voice. Mr. Carney fully supports Miss Reed on this idea, and the government has no right to do this. They can't sit on this stuff. They choose to forgo opportunity to search these for 2 years. They get whipped, and suddenly they want to scrap through her stuff. Carney himself is already facing witness intimidation charges, the aggressive activism towards police and people who testified in both of Reed's trials. A jury found Reed not guilty of murder of John O'Keefe during a retrial in June. Special Prosecutor Robert Cosgrove did not comment to reporters after the hearing. Judge Corrupt announced that he would take this matter under advisement, indicating he plans to issue a decision on the fate of the phones, whether to search parameters or order their return to Reed in the coming days. I will go to my panel. Go ahead, Nan.
Well, I have to say, I'm happy you could read that, because just from my vantage point on your screen through StreamYard, it's a little small for me. So I'm happy that you were able to. So I heard today's hearing, and I have to say I was appalled at the fact that this is even an issue. There's case law that clearly supports returning her phones to her and a timely search of, through warrant of the contents of the phone. What I'm not certain of, because I've kind of heard mixed things, so I always tell people when I don't know something, what I'm not certain of is whether indeed they did download the contents and export all of the contents and data from the phone, because I did hear mixed reports on that. So I'm just saying at this point, if they did, they should have reviewed it, because it appears that the warrant would have permitted them to do so, or to have a tape team review the contents, because there most assuredly would have been communications with whether it was David Yannetti or any other counsel. By the time of January of 2024, she had Alan Jackson, Eliza Little, like a bunch of attorneys. And I look at what happened today and I'm saying, why is this getting kicked down the road further? And the judge does not ask the tough questions to Cosgrove or any prosecutor. I frankly didn't hear him ask any tough questions to any prosecutor in the matters called before that. What a judge should be saying is, what it took you so long? Why is this an issue? Why does she have to file a motion to get her phones back when
Mm.
she was acquitted of murder charges in June? Here we are 3 months later. Right now, I'm frankly surprised that this is still an issue. There's a lot of constitutional nuances I could get into, which probably would bore your audience. I'm happy to do that or to answer any questions on it, but we'll have to wait and see what he does.
Well, Cheryl has her opinion. It says because the judge is an asshole. Sorry.
Thanks,
Justine
Cheryl.
checking in. Hi, Brian and Todd. Todd, anything you want to add here? I mean, is this a witch hunt, Todd? Is this what this is now? It's a witch hunt against Karen Reed?
I just can't believe they cannot cut Karen loose.
Yeah.
They whatever they can just hang on to and drag through. I mean, her vehicle is one issue, the phones are another issue, and it's just enough is enough already.
Oh, wait. Gator
Yeah.
Girl says on 3/20/25, Brennan told the judge that Cosgrove downloaded the phones and had the info video for receipts. Interesting.
See, that's a good point, Gator Girl, because I remember that also. So
Mm.
because there seems to be equivocation from the attorneys on whether or not they were downloaded, I can't give sound guidance to you all as an audience, but what I can tell you is the warrant would have permitted it, and whether they downloaded them, the contents or not, they should have. Right now, it just feels like what the Commonwealth is doing is it's just pure punishment. It's vengeance. You know, you guys lost. Take the L and leave. Holding on to these phones because there's pending criminal charges against Aiden Carney, it just to me feels like retributive. And when you're in a position where you've lost and you lost big, take your ball and go home. And they're not doing that. And this judge, respectfully, is enabling this type of behavior. We're seeing the same type of thing in Aiden's matters where things just getting delayed. So if I get some type of firm confirmation that they did indeed download the contents, I would be able to better guide on it. But as of right now, I recall a grand jury already looked into intimidation, a witness intimidation plan
I
or
thought so.
conspiracy. And that preceded trial 1.0. And that would have been, let's say, the spring of 2024. And if that's the case, most certainly in my mind, the Commonwealth would have looked at the phones. They would have tried to see the contents because they would have brought that before a grand jury. That grand jury returned a no bill. They found no probable cause to bring up either Aiden or Karen on witness intimidation conspiracy related charges then. So you can't, while you can represent matters before grand juries under limited circumstances, this would not be one of them.
It's just it's just scary. I mean, it just goes back to, you have to look at like Aiden in all of this. He's a journalist. He's doing his job. He's reporting on a story, and they tie him up. They want to give him 105 years. And that's pretty scary for journalists in Massachusetts. So what, if I go out and cover a story and I have a source and they're giving me information for things to write about or telling me their side of the story, that I possibly could be locked up for writing that story or talking about it? That's
Right.
pretty nuts. It's pretty scary. And a huge impediment on the First Amendment. I mean,
And if Aiden is to be believed, then and I don't really know if he's dug deep and looked at, because I don't think he has his phones, although I don't know, but he seems to recall there's nothing of substance during the relevant time period between the two of them. And for him to say that so confidently, I have every reason to believe him. So at this point, just give the damn phones back, because all the Commonwealth is doing by holding on to these and putting up this fight is bolstering her civil rights action, which is
Yeah.
coming down the train
Yeah,
tracks.
yeah. Go ahead, Todd. Did you want to jump in there?
That's a great point, Nan. It's just, you know, it's time for them to get off this ride because they're not helping themselves. You know, it's they're cutting off their nose to spite their face type behavior. One, it's a
Right.
lack of professionalism. Two, she's given her legal team a lot of fodder for their case against the Commonwealth or whoever else they're going to sue.
Yep.
Let's say the judge gets access to, which I think is weird because didn't they download, like they'd already downloaded Aiden's phones, didn't they? Didn't we already see some of the stuff that they tried to download off that?
That's my recollection as well. This case has so many twists and turns, and because
Yeah.
there's two of them, and really two trials for Karen plus Aiden's, and Aiden has multiple charges, the facts get a little hazy sometimes. But
Yeah.
I thought that they did download his phones, and now we're seeing redacted, or we will see redacted parts of those downloads coming out. That's my recollection. Now,
But, you
I
know,
will say
somebody-
one point. Oh, I'm sorry, Todd. Just to one quick point. A lot of people have said, and I think I've heard Aiden say, well, they already have my phone, so why do they need her phone's
Right.
content? And I would simply point out that there's nothing wrong with that. From the Commonwealth standpoint or an evidentiary standpoint, it is permissible and probably advisable for a prosecutor's office and a defense to see and compare both, because one side could have deleted some of the
Mm.
messages. So you compare them and juxtapose them. Sorry, Todd, go ahead.
Thanks, Nan. I was just going to say, from an investigative side of things, the downloads would have happened right within 24, 48 hours of receiving them, and they would have had to have been in alignment with what the search warrant, you know, certain
Yes.
specific dates and
You
times.
think? You would think.
Well, again, are they going to shoot themselves in the foot with showing that they went outside the scope of the search warrant as well?
Yeah, just that's a good point, Todd. Now, does this bolster their counter, their counterclaim against the state? Does Karen's team now be able to kind of spit this back and say, look, you didn't download any of the messages or what the data that you wanted within, like Todd said, 24 to 48 hours within the investigation. Excuse my language, but fuck you. You're not going to download her phones and we want them back. I mean, does that bolster their claim, Nan?
It does. It absolutely does. And this whole plan, or I'm not even sure it's a plan on the part of the Commonwealth, it might just be a delay to buy themselves time until they figure out what they're going to do with Aiden Carney and how the charges against him, from my legal observation, are they're just kind of imploding. Whether you have certain fact witnesses who have become agents of the state, and I'm not going to go into the details of who they are. You have conflicts of interest arising. Cosgrove, especially appointed district attorney Cosgrove, has to be either removed or to recuse himself from some of the pending charges. There was, as of 2 weeks ago, I believe, roughly, an order entered by Judge Doolin that said you have 30 days to Morrissey to find someone else to replace Cosgrove.
Yeah, I
So
remember that.
Aiden's cases, all of them or most of them, are kind of just crumbling in his favor. So with all of that said, I think that the Commonwealth probably has the contents of Karen's phones, and they're just hanging on to them, buying themselves time until they can figure out what the next gamesmanship move they want to make is. And if I were to predict, I think it's ultimately going to be a full dismissal of all of the charges against Aiden at some point. I don't know when, no one hold their breath, but I think it will happen. And Karen's phones will ultimately be returned to her. There's no urgency in her getting them back. I want her to get them back. She's entitled to them, but it's not like, oh my God, there's something on these phones and I urgently need them back right now. So if everyone can be a little patient, I think it all will work itself out to Karen's benefit and to Aiden's benefit in the very near future.
Karen in the room says that they didn't, Todd. Because the warrant was only for seizure. They didn't get one for search.
See, this is
So,
where I don't know. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
that strikes me as odd because if you think of an electronic device such as a phone as a container of information,
Yeah.
it's not a murder weapon, right? So it's not like you're giving back a gun to someone who shot somebody. What else would you want that item for? It's to capture the data or the information contained within.
Yes, and you had someone in your chat, Brian, I think Karen McGuire or someone
Okay.
I recently had also reiterated that representations were made on the record by Brennan in front of Judge Sisitsky in March, indicating that the phones were copied.
Oh, this is
So
interesting too. Tridad says the O'Keefe suit has introduced the conspiracy between Karen and Aiden in its arguments. That's right. We heard that in the hearing. And they think they're trying to help. I think they're trying to help the O'Keefe suit as well. That's a good
that's
point.
yeah, Turdad, that's a really good point. I didn't understand at the time why the attorney for the O'Keefes was going down that tangent because it really didn't have anything to do with what was being argued on that date. That was a motion on emotional distress claims, but their attorney was just going on and on and on.
Hmm.
But yes, maybe there is some type of quid pro quo. You scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. Let's see if we can find any connection between Aiden and Karen that would bolster this conspiratorial aspect of the O'Keefe's claim as it relates to Karen's intentions and her conduct. Her conduct in order to satisfy elements of emotional distress claims in that pending wrongful death lawsuit must have been quote unquote extreme and outrageous. And if that attorney who made those arguments before the court a week or two ago is to be believed, he is trying to argue that by Karen conspiring, allegedly, with Aiden to churn and foment this narrative, this public narrative that she was framed, that is extreme and outrageous conduct. I think it's not.
I'm just
But
gonna say, so what? You can listen. You had every local and national newspaper around here printing photos of Carolyn and all
yeah,
like the psycho killer. Like we read all the article headlines. So what? If she wanted to get some positive press up, it's why she did Vanity Fair. That she wanted to tell her story straight. Whatever the pieces of the story
right.
that we got in Vanity Fair. So what? She went to a couple people. Ted Daniel did great reporting. Of course, Aiden's stories and peeling back those layers were amazing. Vanity Fair did a good job. So what? If she wanted to go out, she has every right to talk and tell her side of the story if she wants to do that through the media, and it's probably very well guided by her attorneys.
Yeah. And
It's
it's
like
not intimidating witnesses by doing
no.
that.
No.
Nobody, like everyone seems to forget, and present company excluded, and most of your chat excluded, everyone seems to forget that no one was focusing on her case until Aiden and then others started shining a light upon it.
Yeah.
And then once the tide turned and there was more public interest in the injustice and the corruption and the conspiracy to frame her. So she had every right at any point in time, whether it was early in her case where no one was showing up in her court appearances or later in her case, she had every legal right to talk to any journalist, to talk to anyone she wanted to at her own risk. And as we saw in Trial 2.0, despite the fact that I think it was improper, her statements that she made to anyone else, including the Datelines and or other, Gretchen Voss, those could have been used against her. Speak now or forever hold your peace. And words can be used against you. But she could have done that. I feel very confidently that there's not going to be anything on these downloads of the phones that are going to cause cause a stir or cause any harm or legal jeopardy to her of a civil nature, or criminal jeopardy to Aiden. So I'm not so worried about it, but I'm very interested in the constitutional railroading of both of them, frankly. They have rights.
So what I'm figuring here is that, and I'm probably really dumb to say this, so they didn't extract her phone for either one of the trials? Well, no, they didn't have them in the first trial, so the second trial, they didn't. So that's what my understanding. They didn't extract her phone.
Well, see, that's where first of
It's,
all,
like,
we don't
weird.
know. We don't know
Right.
if that's true. This is the one fact where I'm tripping up because I thought Brennan said it in March too to Judge
I thought so
Sisitsky.
too.
But if they did, so going into let's say trial 2.0, because these phones, well, the phones
It
were
was
procured.
trial 2.
Okay, but the phones were procured in January of 2024. That was before trial 1.0. A
That's true.
prosecutor has a constitutional obligation to explore every single thing that he or she reasonably believes could be inculpatory or exculpatory of a
Exculpatory.
defendant under Brady and Giglio. Those are the two sentinel
Yep.
cases on this issue. We've discussed this on other related matters. And with that said, if they had her phones, they absolutely would have looked at the data on them. And there would have been ways, meaning applications they could have made to Judge Cannoni, who, I'll say it respectfully, was very liberal in what she permitted the Commonwealth to get away with. They could have made any application to Judge Cannoni prior to trial 1.0 or 2.0 that, hey, we can't get into her phones. They have a password. We need the court's relief. But no one ever did that. So they had, I believe they had the contents. I think Cosgrove misspoke today. That's a no-no for an attorney going into court, making representations to a tribunal. But I'll need to know a little bit more before I can definitively say that they indeed do have those contents.
Todd, go ahead. I was going to ask you a question, but I
For
think
life, I mean, I can't understand why you would retrieve a device that has information and not pursue the data, the contents on that device, even if you don't use it.
Right. And if you have it, if you have the devices and you have the data, you actually have to hand the data over, because there could have been data that was favorable.
Yeah.
Exculpatory data favorable to Karen, or certainly if it was inculpatory, if it could have further put her at risk of getting convicted before a jury, they would have handed that over. So I don't believe that they just, out of the goodness of their hearts, kept these phones in what's known as like a legal bailment. We'll just keep possession of the phones, but we won't look in them.
Well,
I don't buy
let's
it.
not forget Proctor going through images. You're
It's
going to
true.
stop at images?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It
He was
just
looking
doesn't make
for
sense.
nudes.
He
Yeah.
admitted that on the stand. So in my mind, that's one layer. Calls at certain dates, times is another layer of data to be examined and analysis. That's basic investigation 101.
They wanted to seize her phones to shut her down. I mean, you can go and get another phone, of course, but if there was information that she needed on there about her case, or some things that might have come through as a tip or whatever, you don't have that digital footprint to go back and look. Who knows? Maybe she's writing a list of notes and outlining her case through her phone, and they snatch that. You don't have that in front of you anymore, so you might not be fully recall it, which I think Karen probably could. She's pretty damn intelligent. But what I'm saying is, shutting her down in the fact of not being able to communicate, not being able to look at, maybe there's documents on her phone that she needed to look through. We heard in the interview with Ted Daniel, she said she'll get a docket and it's 165 pages, and she's scrolling through it and trying to read it on her phone as she's maybe driving to court or something. So maybe that's what this whole thing is, just seize them, shut her down in some capacity. She'll have to go out and try to get a new phone or whatever, but we've now got that information that she could access at all times, and she's not going to be able to use that to recall a memory or a date or whatever it may be. So maybe it's something like that. I don't know.
Yes, and someone just put in your chat, I think they've looked through the phones illegally, and
Oh,
now they
100%.
want to cover their whats. That's quite possible. That's quite possible.
Yeah. Todd, when you do it, I'm sure you've done phone extractions, but what is the process of that? Is a machine they hook it up to, right?
I've never done a phone extraction. There are specialized troopers that are trained in that forensic evaluation, and they have software to retrieve the data, but you have to be certified to be able to pull that.
Celebrite is one of them, right? They use
Exactly.
Celebrite, yeah.
Carino, I think, was certified in some of that forensics.
I'm gonna
yeah.
bite my tongue on his caliber, because he seems to have missed 32,000 text messages on Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore, between them. But
We'll just
he must
ignore
have
that.
to the basic course.
Yeah. It's the could you imagine that was just printed out and put like on the courtroom table? Like here's all the I think they did that before. Didn't they do that in a political matter? And I don't want to get political here, but I think it was when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, and it was the communications, I think, with Benghazi, and there was they brought the stack of emails in and put them on the desk and said, "Here's all the communication that you supposedly didn't see." But I digress. I don't want to get into that. But I bet that would be amazing, though.
The visual demonstrative of that. It's pretty
I
unbelievable.
hope if there's a trial that they actually do that, because I think that would be a great visual for the jury. Like, this is, you said you didn't see any of these,
right?
And just this big stack of paper. So I digress on that. But yeah, I mean, this is it's wild, and I just think it's another witch hunt to try to catch Karen up on something like, she got out of the the criminal trial. She's getting pressed hard on this civil trial. We just saw some motions passed on that. With the emotional damages and how that's all going to be kind of divvied out in this case, and then it's going to be so complex, that civil trial. And we talked about it a couple of times here, and we, my prediction, you won't see that probably conclude within 2 to 3 years, and that's even if they come to any type of settlement before that. We even heard Alan Jackson saying, you never know, we're always open to something. So I don't know. It's just to me, it just seems like another witch hunt that they want to try to catch Karen up on something, and obviously keep pressing on Aiden for whatever their reason is. It's probably the fact that we didn't get her, but we're gonna get this guy, and then maybe we can get something on her. But I don't know. That's what I think.
For now, I think the tide is definitely turning, and certainly by December, once there's at least. That is a hearing. I think it's December 5th. There's a hearing date on some of his matters. I think that's also a date that the judge today ordered for return on this issue involving the phones. I'm glitching. Todd, I'm glitching for you. Okay, it's good. It's a good night. I'm back to normal. But I do think that by December, if not sooner, we're going to start to see the tide really turn favorably in Karen's direction, and most notably in Aiden's direction.
Yeah. Tammy says, you think that they are running scared and want to put her in jail to stop the civil suit. Well, the civil suit would just continue, right, Nan?
Yes.
That just, that would, there's no really putting someone in jail when they're in a civil trial, because it's not a criminal matter. It's more monetary damages that they're seeking. So you're not being criminally held for any type of charge like murder or manslaughter. That's the civil matter. So she can't go to jail for that. But and I don't even know what I mean, what are they trying to? Are they going to charge her with something? Like what? I don't get it. Like, what is this all about? It's just
I
stupid.
think
The
they're
whole thing
I
is dumb.
think they're looking to not re, I don't want to say re. I think they're looking
Rehash.
to find new ways to
Like,
charge
aha,
her.
we got her. Aha, we got him.
Yeah,
Ah.
which is why this feels like vengeance to
Yeah,
me.
it
And
is.
this fact that we do have double jeopardy in our Constitution for the United States, and that means you can't be prosecuted twice for the same crime. So it
Right.
just feels to me it's like laden in, well, let's try another avenue with her. And that's not proper. So I'll need to know a little bit more. I'm going to keep an eye on this, but the Commonwealth is absolutely bolstering her civil rights action. This is a bad decision that they should just return the phones. They should just return the phones. I think right now it's a little bit of a kangaroo court going on in Morrissey's office. They had poor communication and, frankly, poor prosecutorial skills and policies before all the light started getting shined on upon that office and its leaders. And now, especially with the conflicts that are arising and the removal or recusal of specially appointed prosecutors like Mello and Cosgrove, I don't think one hand knows what the other hand is doing in
Mm.
Morrissey's office. And I think it's that mixed with Morrissey's trying to save face. Morrissey, in my opinion, hates Aiden. They want, as they go into this election year, Morrissey does,
Mm.
I think he wants to try to turn it around somehow. And if he can possibly get Aiden convicted on some of these charges, which he will not be able to,
Yeah.
it may turn the tide as to how he's viewed. He, meaning Morrissey, is viewed publicly.
Yeah.
It's
Karen
almost like
says, go ahead, Todd.
I was going to use the analogy. It's like Morrissey made a bet at a casino and lost the big hand, lost the second big hand. Now he's going to triple down with Aiden and
Yes.
put in even a bigger more chips into the pot. So it's just
Yeah.
got to get off this circus wheel.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Karen in the chat says they're trying to find new evidence to bring back the grand jury, but like Nan said, they can't recharge her. That's double jeopardy. So you can't.
But they
Go
can't
ahead, Nan.
recharge her.
Right.
Sorry, Brian. They can't recharge her for the same crimes.
Same crime.
And you can represent things to a grand jury, even though there was a no bill. So what I don't know exactly what was presented to a grand jury in the spring of 2024 as it related to witness intimidation and Karen Reed and Aiden Carney. I don't know that, and neither do all of you, because grand jury proceedings are secret. But we know that happened. So I have a feeling what Morrissey's office is looking to do is to find more evidence to represent to a grand jury and say, well, here we go. Here's this. There's more evidence. Do you want to issue an indictment now, grand jury, like a newly composed grand jury? That's what they're looking to do, probably. It's very hard to figure out what Looney Tunes are trying to do. You know what I mean? These are, in my opinion, ethically compromised groups of attorneys working for the Commonwealth in Norfolk County. So it's very hard to read the tea leaves as to what they're trying to do.
Yeah, they said Trident says they can charge her with a felony conspiracy and witness intimidation. Look, Cosgrove Style himself is as a man of honor. He had the power to stand up in court today and say, we are dropping this. It's a very good
Yes.
point.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point. Juju says you can't you can't fix stupid. Yeah,
That's
it's
a
very
better
true.
way of saying it. Yes.
Yeah. And then Dee's asking, why wasn't this brought up in the trial with Jackson?
Well, during the trial with Jackson, you're talking, I'm assuming, right,
Alan
the trial
Jackson.
2.0,
Right.
she wouldn't have had her phones back. So, you get your personal property back after you're acquitted.
Yeah.
Typically it happens
How
within
long is
about
that?
60
Yeah.
days.
She got her
Some
SUV back.
after she, you know,
Yeah, she had to
huffed
fight
and
for it.
fight
puffed
for it,
about
right.
it. Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't understand that either. It's just a normal manner of course that about 60 days you get your property back. So Jackson wouldn't have had any reason to bring this up during the trial.
Yeah, we're gonna have to keep our eye on this. Do you know how long? I didn't get to watch it. Do you know how long the hearing was today, Nan?
It was aired on, I watched it on the Young Jerks, and it was about halfway through the stream that it started, and the whole argument took about 20 minutes.
Oh, wow. And try to, again, chime in, says it's nonsense. Walsh had his phone back within 48 hours and his trial has not even started. Well, now that you said Brian Walsh, this is a great segue into our Brian Walsh segment. I love that. See how this worked tonight? This is great. But listen, I had a full presentation kind of mapped out because, we thought that trial was going to start on October 20th. Now there's been a little bit of a monkey wrench thrown into this. So, we'll go through a little bit of where we are in the Walsh trial. I want to talk a little bit about the Proctor factor and, things that, the prosecution will bring up, the defense are going to bring up, and we'll go through that there to kind of end our segment tonight. So let me bring this up. Brian Walsh, excuse me. So we just found out Brian Walsh was attacked a couple of weeks ago. He was knifed. I think he actually ended up having to take a trip to the hospital. It was not deemed life-threatening. I believe he's back in jail at this time. But it says Brian Walsh's trial for murder of his wife postponed in the wake of jail attack. Less than 1 month before Brian Walsh is due to go on trial for the murder of his and dismemberment of his wife, a judge ordered that he undergo a mental health evaluation, and the trial was postponed. Judge Diane, I think it's I'm going to get this wrong. Fereni?
I think it's Frenier.
Frenier. Thank you. Frenier.
I'm probably wrong.
Issued the order for competency examination on Monday. The case docket shows the court did not release the copy of the order to News 5, citing medical records. The title of Frenier's order city states that it allows the court to order an examination whether a court of competent jurisdictions doubt whether a defendant in a criminal case is competent to stand trial or is criminally responsible by reason of mental illness or mental defect. Later Monday, a hearing was held and Brian Walsh was ordered to be sent to Bridgewater State Hospital, that's the puzzle factory, for 20 days to determine whether he is competent to stand trial. And again, I'm not making fun of mental health, but I don't know. The final pretrial hearing, which is scheduled for Tuesday, was rescheduled, and another competency hearing is set for October 27th. So his trial was supposed to start on the 20th. Now that's been bumped, and we're going to come back on the 27th. If there's a question about whether he can do that, it can make the entire trial invalid or create an appellate issue. Even if there were to be convicted, there would be an appellate issue, and that would say he's going to be able to help himself during trial, explaining attorney Greg Henning. Brian Walsh's trial was previously scheduled October 20th and is now being rescheduled. The court docket said he faced charges of murder. I'm just going to see this as kind of just outlining the case. Let's go here. The defendant has made progress. Both mental and physical efforts of the violent assault had continued to prevent him from being able to adequately participate in preparing his defense, Tipton wrote, and that's Brian's attorney. Excuse me. He made his great effort to do so, but at the time, it is evident that the trauma resulting from the explanation and sudden attack continues to significantly impact his ability to work with his attorneys in the manner required as the complex trial approaches. I don't think it's really that complex. In my opinion, it's pretty cut and dry. And I get it. That's lawyer talk there. The competence hearing is one of the several new elements added to the court docket on Monday. Others will include a series of responses from prosecution and recent motions submitted by Brian Walsh's attorney. The new documents include the competence of another round of DNA evidence testing in series of prosecution responses to motions put forward by the defense. That includes a response to Brian Walsh's request that the judge prohibit testimony alleging he knew about his wife's extramarital affair prior to January 2023. I wonder why he would want that thrown out. According to the response, the prosecution expects to present evidence that will permit reasonable influence about his knowledge and would not intend to ask any witness that question directly. The prosecution emphasized that they do plan to introduce that a private investigator was hired to look into Anna's infidelity. Prosecutors also responded to the request that the judge prohibited information about Walsh's prior legal criminal trouble. Money's motion informed the court that prosecutors do not plan to introduce the evidence about 2001's alleged allegations in Washington, D.C. or concerning the probate of his father's estate. They do plan, however, to introduce some facts about the federal art fraud case that Brian Walsh was convicted in. And that was Warhol paintings that he was involved in fraudulent reproductions, selling reproductions of Warhol shadow paintings, which was interesting.
It's actually a
Right.
really big area of crime, believe it or not. I have
Yes.
2 cousins who are in work for the FBI, and they handle art theft and art forgeries. It's a very large area of crime that's investigated federally.
Brian, going
Fun
back to
fact,
the
everybody.
going back to the stabbing, his attorney described the vicious attack. Well, the report coming out of that was that those were superficial wounds that he sustained. So there's a little bit of embellishment there from what I could tell by the attorney. And then this latest, this is just buying time. These are shenanigans that Walsh is up to.
Yeah. I can also add some firsthand experience to this. So first, everyone should understand that any defense lawyer absolutely needs a client who's a defendant who is fully competent and able to participate in their defense. That is true. I have defended cases where I've even suspected my clients are not all there, or they are recovering from, and there's been a variety of things, going through a divorce, loss of a parent. Those are things that do hinder the quality and caliber of a defense that I can give to that defendant. With that said, I think there's shenanigans going on. If they were superficial wounds, and we all would have heard if there were more, he would have been hospitalized for a longer duration. There would have been more buy-in from the Commonwealth in agreeing to an extension because, wow, this person is very injured. We understand. We're not seeing that here. It is not uncommon for defense attorneys or for prosecutors to kiss up to a trial date and realize, I need a little bit more time. And that happens on both sides. I'm guilty of it sometimes too. I won't lie to a court and make up an excuse, but it's got the flavor of that to me, that this is now a convenient reason to adjourn or postpone the trial date just to buy a little bit more time. But if he indeed has to be evaluated by a mental health practitioner, gosh, I mean, that's a little heavy-handed.
Do you think they're buying time with in the article they talked about more DNA testing, knowing how long it kind of takes DNA to come through? Do you think they're just trying to buy some more time with that?
Maybe. Or many times defendants just don't want to go from jail to prison. Prison is not fun. From what I hear, it's like much, much worse than jail.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just that a lot of defendants, they get cold feet before a criminal trial. They don't want to face a verdict. They think things are not going their way. So I'm not sure why there is buying of time. But even back in the day with renowned or infamous serial killer Ted Bundy, when he was already convicted but facing execution, he even started clamoring and talking about, providing information to law enforcement about some of the crimes he committed and victims, because he wanted to put his ultimate judgment day off. It's a little bit of a different analogy, but there is a sense of panic that does develop in defendants, whether it's pre-conviction or post-conviction. They want to put things off. That's what this smells like for me.
Except for Karen Reed. She's like, bring it on. Let's go.
Yeah.
Because when you're innocent and you have something to prove in the court of law, bring it on, MFers. We're gonna go at this. So
Yeah.
let's do this. I'm gonna share my screen here a little bit and just let's see some of the wonderful things that Brian Walsh was searching, not on his iPad, but his son's iPad.
It's
So
awful.
evidence between 4:55 a.m. and 1:20 p.m. on January 1st, 2023, a series of grim Google searches were made on Walsh's son's iPad and possibly other devices. Oh, the brilliant search terms of this, the quite cute and cuddly search terms of how long before a body starts to smell, 10 ways to dispose of a dead body, how long before DNA is detectable in dismemberment, and the best ways to clean blood. Why is this strong? Well, the timeline matches the hours of Anna's disappearance. Content is highly incriminating. I think they're gonna have a big issue with that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think his kid's searching those terms up, right?
Oh man. If his
you've
kid
got
is
someone
searching that.
You've got someone that is just sick in the head, and these are all allegations. However, I know it's on my search history.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
it's on mine too. Exactly. Good point, Todd. And then you have the physical evidence. The police found a blood and bloody knife in the basement of the Cohasset home. Direct physical link to potential violence in the home contradicts Brian that she left for her work. It was supposedly she flew out of town. There was no record that she flew. She left for work. And then we have the surveillance and the purchases. This is all the incriminating evidence that's against Brian. On January 2nd, 2023, he was seen at Home Depot buying $450 of cleaning supplies, mops, tarps, tape, drop cloths, hazmat suits, wearing gloves and a mask when he went in to do this. And then the surveillance footage allegedly showed him disposing of a heavy trash bag in Abington and surrounding towns. So not only did he murder her at the house, he spread her around in different areas, which is pretty fucking crazy. And that suggests deliberate cover-up of the behavior soon after Anna's disappearance. And then we had the evidence. He went to Whole Foods and CVS on January 1st. There's no surveillance receipts or records confirming this. He said that Anna left for a ride share at 6 a.m. There's no ride share that exists. And then you look at the forensic evidence: towels, rags, slippers, rugs with blood, hacksaw, hatchet, cutting shears, and cloth, and then Anna's COVID-19 vaccination card. It connects connects the dismemberment tools and Anna's personal items right to Brian. And then the motive, we look at this. Prosecution points to marital strain, and Anna had told friends that she had planned to leave him. And then here we go, December 22nd, he searches, what's the best state to divorce from a man? Best state to divorce for a man, and establish potential motive, divorce, financial, legal pressures, and loss of control. I never understand this. If you just want to leave your spouse, just file the divorce and leave your spouse. You don't have to murder them and cut them up and spread them around Massachusetts. I've never understood that.
I haven't either.
Was there a insurance benefit that
I
came
think
up in
there was? Yeah, Todd. I think there was in this, and I might have it in my notes here. Hang on.
I remember hearing that as well. I never understood why people, spouses choose this option. And I'm trying to stay away from the YouTube buzzwords, but that spouses choose this option over divorce. The same way, even with infidelity. Like if you want to commit infidelity, then just get a divorce. Like that's how my personal view on it. But at this point, this is a mountain of evidence.
Yes.
When I would hear Brennan refer to evidence against Karen Reed as a mountain of evidence, or that it's really, the case is really firmed up as to her, I would just shake my head going, are you kidding me? No reasonable prosecutor would have brought those charges. And most law tubers who are quite vocal on Karen's matter all agreed on that. But in Brian Walsh's case, this is incriminating. I mean,
Yeah.
and the fact is, the fact that the searches were on the child's iPad
It's even
adds
worse.
an element of consciousness of guilt, because even though it's not after the fact, what you have here is an intent to deceive or to obfuscate what you're trying to do. This wasn't his, quote, computer or device. He actually took the added step and intended to
Yeah.
hide what he was looking for. It's really sinister. And then
Yeah.
from a personal standpoint, then I look at him and I say, gosh, I would never want to be in a dark
God.
alley and look eye to eye with him.
Yeah, I mean, the initial charges when they're in there reading his indictment, I mean, he's just the dagger eyes looking at that prosecutor. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like it's chilling, like I'm sure she was probably shaken, a little bit by the way this guy's just seeing through her.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Let's talk about the Proctor factor in all of this really quick. So you have Michael Proctor, obviously was the lead investigator on Brian Walsh's case. There are ongoing dispute about documents from former Massachusetts State Police Trooper Michael Proctor, who was connected to the Karen Reed case. The defense seeks access to the internal files, emails, and texts, arguing they may contain exculpatory or impeachable material. However, materials tied to Proctor are under a federal order from the Karen Reed case that may require destruction of certain confidential information by mid-October. Proctors have stated that they are reviewing and that must or should be turned over. The judge has refused to grant suppression of the Google searches, limiting the defense's ability to exclude that evidence. Thank God, because that is, to me, that's the whole linchpin in all of this. Like, that's going to connect, those Google searches, like Nan was saying, is absolutely super incriminating, super incriminating.
Yeah, and Proctor's role in this investigation, I'm happy that the judge is not suppressing any of the evidence, but what Walsh's attorney can avail himself to is to call Proctor in as a witness and to do with him what Alan Jackson did with Proctor in trial 1.0 for Karen, and what he would have done to Proctor in 2.0 had he been called to testify by either side. The defense attorney for Walsh can cross-examine Proctor on lots of stuff: his termination, discipline, his investigative shortcomings, any type of news items that bias, the incident with Kevin Albert out on the Cape with the loss of the weapon and the drinking while on duty. All of that is fair game, and that's constitutional. That means Walsh's attorney is allowed to try to convince the jury that Proctor is somehow compromised or biased or not a good investigator. That's where balance takes place, and the jury, as the trier of fact, can make a determination in Walsh's case if Proctor did something so wrong or awry to adversely affect that investigation. That's why the, quote, mountain of evidence as to Walsh will make, in my opinion, all the difference. The Google searches, the all of those products that were purchased, his whereabouts during specific, quote, time-stamped periods of time. And that's where the jury can make a reasoned determination as to who do they want to believe. I'm interested to see how Proctor would testify in this case. I am.
Yeah, I think they're not going to call. I don't think they're going to call him, though. I think that it was just more about accessing the files and bringing that forward. Todd, this is like, it just goes back to like just good policing. Like, look how much this guy is screwed up every case that his hands have been in, because now obviously he's been exposed in Karen's case. This may cause issues in Brian Walsh's case, where, I mean, in my opinion, that dude killed his wife. I don't care. I mean, that dude killed his wife. I can have that opinion. I mean, just looking at
You
the
can.
evidence, looking at everything here, this is not three card Monty.
Right.
I mean, this dude killed, in my opinion, this dude killed her and chopped
Well-
her up and spread her all across Massachusetts. Go ahead, Todd. I'm sorry.
No, Brian, I mean, you did a good job documenting, the information that the courts have and the things that the investigation did yield. As far as Proctor goes, I'd like to think that some part of the investigation was legitimate, that just standard basic 101 investigation. To Nan's point, his attorney is going to try and discredit him and bring up all of the other issues that we all know about. But even with discrediting Proctor, there's just so much evidence that I think Walsh has dug himself a deep enough pit that even investigative screw ups aren't going to help him.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, there's
I
such a mountain.
completely agree.
Such a mountain of evidence there. There's no way.
But
There's no
you
way.
know,
I just think this guy
as he
walking.
gets assessed at that facility, I have every reason to suspect they may find mental health issues deep within him. I mean, I am not a clinician, but I very ignorantly believe that if you're depraved enough to do this to a spouse, which I agree with you, Brian, I've made my mind up on Brian Walsh. I could never be a juror,
Yeah.
even if I lived up there. I'm not able to
Yeah.
be impartial, but I have a feeling, and I have my own personal beliefs, that if you're depraved enough to do this to a spouse and to kind of research it in the manner in which it looks like he did, he might have some mental health related issues. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what the evaluation shows. But in normal jurisdictions, the court will apologize for my dog barking, but the court will reschedule a trial date pretty quickly once there's
So if he's
feedback.
now, and this is the thing, I know that trained mental health, what am I saying? Not officials, but trained mental health
Providers,
providers
clinicians,
or
yeah.
people that are going to study him, I guess, over the next 20 days. They're pretty good at this stuff. And I'm sure they can probably see through some bullshit if he's going to try to, do this stuff.
They can.
Yeah. Now, what happens if you're not competent to stand trial? Like, explain that to me. So what happens in
Yeah.
that process now?
So the first part of your question is very very standard. The mental health clinicians and certainly ones that are appointed by the Commonwealth or the state,
Excuse me.
they conduct tests that see through all of the malingering, the faking, all of
Try
the
to fake, right?
I don't even know the right terms for it, but they can see through it because there's levels of redundancy in how they perform these tests. So they can tell if someone's faking. If he is determined to be incompetent and not to have the mental capacity to stand trial, I don't know the specific rule in Massachusetts, but most jurisdictions, and I would imagine Massachusetts has something similar, will allow, depending on what the feedback is, to have temporary delays of a trial pending different things, further evaluations, treatment, etc. Also, if he has an incompetency that's, for lack of a better word, incurable, perhaps
Right.
he's insane, which I don't believe he is because of such robust evidence of intent. I think he's going to have a very hard time showing that he's not guilty by reason of insanity.
Sanity.
It sure looks like he knew what he was doing, if this evidence is to be believed. But if he is determined to be clinically and legally insane, then there's a whole
Oh, excuse me.
litany of different pleas that he can enter, different arrangements where he can be, what's the right word? Essentially housed in a mental health facility instead of
Yeah.
put into a jail. There's some other nuances to it, but you can't just put off a trial in perpetuity. Usually a court will prompt you to either reach some type of plea, or to enter some type of judgment based on clinical insanity and the like. I think they're going to see very quickly that he's faking.
Yeah, Christy's got some good points. She said the planning process, the cleanup, she's
Yeah.
throwing them all out there. So yeah, exactly, Christy. I agree.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch how this all plays out. And lawyers are going to do their job and do their lawyering and try to push the fact that, they need more time or he's not competent to stand trial. But again, the mental health facility will figure all that out. So it's interesting. We got a lot of colliding cases that are going to be kind of happening, some major things in these cases over the next couple of weeks. And I know our eyes and ears will all be on them and watching and seeing what happens. I was fully ready to go and really dive into this and start getting ready for trial, but it looks like we're in a delay. But look, we got more Karen news that popped up, so we'll be watching that over the next couple of days and seeing what happens there. Let's do this. Go ahead, Todd. I'm sorry.
Nope, just agreeing with you, Brian. There's so much going on, and again, we're just seeing how these cases continue to evolve. You think they're in one path and one trajectory, and you just all of a sudden take a bad left turn.
And the thing that's weird, it's like all like 6 degrees of separation, like it's all intertwined with the prosecutors and the people and the law enforcement officials and the DA. I mean, it's like an octopus just grabbing everything and throwing it into a big mishmash. But I don't know. It's crazy. Let's read a couple of chats and then we'll get out of here. Motions in CPA. Thank you for becoming a new YouTube member. I appreciate that. Christine, thank you for being a member for 20 months. Look at that support. I appreciate that. NH Dude 603, $20 says it goes to show we need more involved in our civic duties. Great work, LTL. Hi, Todd and Nan, and the amazing Nan. Well, thank you, NH Dude. I appreciate that. Pro Gamer, all the way across the pond. Look at this, 10 pounds. What the F happened in Norfolk County today? I hope someone can explain. It's outrageous, ugly, all complicit in corruption. And it says, love Todd and Nan, help. Yeah, we did a lot of breaking that down through this stream. So please go back and watch. And we have Karma. Thank you so much. $2 says, namaste, Todd, Brian, and Nan. I appreciate that.
Great.
Yeah, great. Well, look, we'll keep our eyes on the prize here, and we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. Again, Karen's case, Aiden's case, Brian Walsh, Kelsey Fitzsimmons is a big case right now. If you're all watching that, I would urge to go watch Mike from the Young Jerks. He's doing an amazing job and has a pretty, I don't want to speak out of pocket here, but some connection to Kelsey, right? I think he's getting family information or something. I may be wrong on that. I know the chat will know, but I urge you to go watch his channel. He's been doing some really amazing lives on that. And he's just a good dude. And he's got a great channel and a great chat that he has cultivated. And yeah, I mean, that's really it. Any parting words before we go, Todd or Nan?
Well, you both have made Wednesday night enjoyable for me as well. I thought it was just going to be Mondays, but I'm sure I'll be seeing you on a Monday soon.
We will.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about coming up in the future. So I'm gonna rest my voice and be ready for the next LTL live.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank
you, JD. I appreciate that super sticker. And then we have Proctor's hearing coming up. I think part 2.
It's back on this month.
Yeah, back in October too. So back up to his post-commission hearing, and that's coming up soon too. So tons of material out there for us to talk about, and I appreciate it. I'm going to let Todd and Nan go, and then I'm going to do a little parting word here before I go off air. But thank you both for jumping up on this Wednesday. We shifted it over from Monday, and we'll be back again on Monday night, next Monday night, to do another panel here. So Thank you, Todd and Nan. Have a great night.
Good night.
Good night,
Bye,
everybody.
Todd.
Good night, chat. Good night,
Appreciate
Nan.
you. Oh, oh. Let's see. There we go. All right. Thank you everybody for being here. I appreciate it. I want to thank everybody. Thank you, JD. I appreciate that. And I just want to bring something to attention this evening before I head out. Listen, I take mental health super, super serious. And I wanted to just kind of say this. My brother passed away 14 years ago today. And I did a post up on Facebook and X, and it's absolutely will bother me for the rest of my life. And today is typically a very hard day because my brother ended up taking his life. And I just wanted to give the gift back and say that there's always someone out there to listen. If you are struggling, you're feeling alone, you have a number that you can reach out to. And I urge anybody to dial 988, and that is the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. And it's available 24 hours a day, and they have languages of English and Spanish. So if you can do me a favor and just pass that on to anybody that would need that. I mean, you can just dial 988, and that will connect you with someone, and they can help and they can listen. So there is always someone out there to speak with and talk to. So I appreciate everybody for jumping in the chat tonight. I appreciate you watching the show if you're watching it now or back on replay. And it was such a great panel to go through these three cases that we talked to tonight. So I'm going to head out. I'll be back. Just look for me in a couple of days or so. And we have a lot to talk about. There's been an update in Robert Brooks's case. And that was the gentleman out in Marcy Correctional Facility that was killed by 9 correctional officers, and their body cameras actually turned on and recorded that murder. And 3 of them are now going to jury trial, and there was opening statements the other day. So I know that's something that I want to go through, and we'll continue to follow that trial as well. And hopefully this fully gives Robert Brooks' his family some justice, because Robert did not deserve what he got. It was an absolute murder. It was disgusting. And I hope that these correctional officers pay for everything that they did to him for the rest of their lives. Even if some of them get out of prison alive, I hope they continue to pay for that. And if you have not seen or caught up on that case, you can catch all that footage that we talked about. I had Todd up on my panel discussing that and going through that footage. And it's just footage that I never ever really ever want to watch again. But you can find all that on my my homepage. Just in the search box, look for Robert Brooks, and that will give you all the updated information in his case. So thank you all so much. Again, I appreciate all of you. If you haven't already, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll be back next week with my panel. And it's great to see everybody again. And I appreciate your support. Take care. Have a good night. Bye-bye.